Hi, this is Dave, and before we get to the show, I wanted to ask you a favor. One of our goals this year is to grow the show so that What Does Star Wars Mean to You reaches more listeners. And that's where we're asking you for help. And it's really easy. Wherever you listen to us, please hit that subscribe button. If you're liking the show, give us a 5-star rating and review on the platform you listen to us. We make a lot of fun of the algorithm and the smash that button thing, but it really does help us get noticed by new fans. And if you want to join in on the conversation, find us on social at Star Wars Mean to You. That's Star Wars Mean, the number 2 in the letter U. Now, let's chat some Star Wars. Hello there, this is Dave and you're listening to What Does Star Wars Mean to You? The show where we talk to all kinds of fans of Star Wars, from industry insiders to indie artists, from mega collectors to obsessive mythologists, to find out how Star Wars impacted their life. Here's the thing, there's a lot of ways to look at Star Wars, and it's all from a certain point of view. Yours. But let's face it, we all love what we all love about Star Wars. And I believe that hearing someone talk passionately about what they love about Star Wars can open my own mind to new ways of thinking about it. Also, let's just face it, it's fun to talk Star Wars. So I want to change the conversation from what is wrong or right about Star Wars to what does Star Wars mean to you? Today, it's episode 9, part 2 of my conversation with JC Reifenberg. Now, JC is a director, a writer. He's worked for Major League Baseball and is the producer for Kevin Smith's Fatman Beyond podcast. But what he may be best known for is being the creator and owner of the famed SCUM and VILLAINY Cantina, the intergalactic geek bar nestled in the wretched hive of Hollywood, Los Angeles. Last episode, we talked about how his knowledge of Star Wars led JC to appear on the Rosie O'Donnell show, and again on MTV's TRL, where he won a trip to see the premiere of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, at Skywalker Ranch. This led him to hugging the man himself, George Lucas. Now that seems like a lot, but there's so much more, and that's what we cover today. We talk about how he met and started working with Kevin Smith for his movie Hughes the Force, which is a John Hughes meets Star Wars fandom inspired movie. How Star Wars continues to inspire him, and a couple of special guests pop by, most notably his 2-year-old daughter, who has her own Star Wars obsession already. She's super cute and has lots to add to the conversation. Now, this was recorded back in January, so she even has a Christmas song. But it's also the reason why we're not really talking about Mandalorian or Bad Batch too much. But first, it's Star Wars Day, Thursday. May the 4th be with you. So this is the perfect day to end my chat with JC, but it's also the perfect day for a special bonus episode where JC walks me through his theory that Jar Jar is the best Star Wars character. Now, this is more than just a theory. It really is a pitch for a massive project that is part documentary, part prequel to the prequels, and part therapy for Jar Jar. And if you keep your mind open to it, it really does change your perspective on Jar Jar. One other thing, I'm going to change up the format of the show a little bit. I've been releasing part 1 and part 2 of these conversations a week apart, but I think I'm going to try releasing them both on the same day. Still part 1 and part 2, I just feel like the episode length becomes unwieldy when you're talking about podcasts that are over an hour. This way the full conversation is out, but you can pace yourself any way you want. Or you can binge it all first thing Thursday morning. That's what I recommend. Since it's Star Wars Day, I have to ask, are you doing anything special to celebrate? What does Star Wars Day mean to you? Let us know and get in on the conversation on Twitter or Instagram at Star Wars Mean to You. That's at Star Wars Mean, the number 2 and the letter U. And if you're liking the show, be sure to subscribe or follow and give us a 5-star rating and review. Or, if we really want to beat the algorithm, get at least one other person to start listening and following the show. That way the algorithm is so confused, people at podcast headquarters will be like, this show has like 2 reviews, yet it's blowing up. We don't understand it. It's fun to beat the algorithm. That's all. I just want to beat the algorithm. I know together we can beat the algorithm. Let's do that. And now part 2 of my conversation with JC Reifenberg. What do you think are 3 elements, or what are the 3 elements to you that make Star Wars Star Wars?
That's a good question. It's interesting. A lot of people will be like, it's the myth. It's wizards, brown robed wizards with lightsabers. It's spaceships. It's this, it's that. And it is all of Star Wars is all of those things. I think to me, I need my Star Wars to show belief in yourself. I think I need Star Wars to show hope. And I think I need Star Wars to take me to a place that I know and understand but have never seen
That's
before.
a poetic answer. That's really great. And it's also tremendous how that echoes your story a little bit in that you had belief in yourself that you could do these things. You had hope that you can meet George Lucas on Skywalker Ranch. And you went somewhere that you totally were comfortable in, yet had never been to at a place like Skywalker Ranch.
Into opening a bar, like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have exactly 0 minutes of experience opening or running any sort of hospitality, anything. I've always done film and media
Yep.
prior to the doors opening of Scum and Villainy Cantina.
Have you enjoyed Scum and Villainy more than, say, you're being on the field when the Yankees won, or are they not comparable?
I'll tell you the most wonderful thing about Scum and Villainy. It so I wrote my college essay to get into University of Miami Film School about Star Wars, how Star Wars spoke a global language, and it didn't matter what your physical language, how your mouth and your tongue and your voice box moved. There's something about Star Wars that was human, and my goal was to tap into that. That was like my life's mission when I was going into film school, is that, you can look at it with, and I'm not going to get into like the science of it or whatever. I'm not speaking of the merits of it, but I am speaking of the influence of it. If you look at like Al Gore, who is the vice president of the United States, arguably the second most powerful person in the world, never had more power than when he released a movie called An Inconvenient Truth. And I don't
Yep.
know. I've never even seen it. So I don't know if it's real or fake or what he's embellished or how wonderful or full of crap it is. So I'm not making a statement on that. I'm making a statement on the fact that that movie gave him more capital, more influence than
Hmm.
anything he did as the vice president of the United States of America. And that was something that I thought was really magnificent. And that's what I wrote about Star Wars. Making movies to me now is more about creating a time machine for people to take them to feel things. And Kevin Smith talks about it a lot, but it's like a movie is storytelling, but it's storytelling that costs a lot of money, takes a lot of people, and a lot of
Yeah.
time. And to get that reaction. And then your movie goes into a movie theater if you're lucky, and you can go to that movie theater and the lights are out, and if you're lucky you can hear people's emotions about what what you've done. I haven't done it a lot recently, but when Scum and Villainy opened, my favorite thing to do is sit and look at the front door and watch people walk in, and for a flash, like just a flash, just a moment, something you couldn't even time with a stopwatch. They're 8. They're 8 years old.
Yeah.
That that to me is what is special. And then to like build off of that, like Jen, my fiance and I have talked about like legacy a lot. And I grew up, I was like, I need to make a movie that changes the world, and that's my going to be my legacy. That's what I want my legacy to be. And Jen is a bar and restaurant designer and hotel designer. She's like, I want to just do a building that like lives forever, that like is so that moves people with the way that it's designed,
Hmm.
right? They go into the space and it just changes who they are. And I realized it a little bit earlier than Jen, but like the story, I'll continue this long story. Jen and I realized that Scum and Villainy is that for us, in that people have met. I mean, I know so many people who've met their best friends there, so many people who met their roommates there, multiple people who have met their spouses there and who are now married with kids. I have a couple who become my friends. They met there on May the 4th of 2017. They met. They were there separate. He was dressed as Anakin. She was dressed as Jyn Erso. In 2018, they started dating. They signed papers to move in together. In 2019, he proposed to her in the exact same spot they met and took their first photo together. Their come together thing was, hey, Jin Urso, can I get a photo with you? And every time they come to the bar, they stand in the same spot they met, snap a photo. Even if they're going to the Hollywood Bowl and they're dressed as Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, they do the same photo in the same spot. And this is the most wild thing. It's like, it makes you almost believe that the world is a simulation. They are expecting their first baby due when?
May 4th.
May the 4th of this year. I was like, I called him. I saw him post on social media. I called him. And I was like, you're fucking lying. You're such, he's like, it is not a lie, if you can believe it. But there's just something about it, right? There's just something cosmic, like out there working to put people who love and put passion forward. That's another story I'll tell. I'm just going on and on and on. Sorry, I'll finish this story and then I'll tell you another story. We went to my uncle's house. My uncle was halfway in age between me and my mom. He's a late in life baby.
Yep.
And then he had kids later. So his son was 8 or 9 years old. Name is Jack. Jack is the only other person in my family who loves Star Wars the way I do. Do you know what he loves? Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah.
You know his Obi-Wan Kenobi is James Arnold Taylor.
Yeah. That's probably
like,
was his first introductions to Star Wars as well.
The movies, he fell in love with Clone Wars on Netflix. The movies, yeah, they're great. I love the movies. But Bad Batch is his thing, is his Star Wars preview. Here's the funny thing. Talking about legacy, right? Talking about what you're leaving behind. I asked him, who makes Star Wars? What was his answer?
Well, maybe Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni makes Star Wars. To kids, Dave Filoni makes Star Wars. So what I said to my fiance is I said, will you ever make a building, or will I ever make a movie that is more culturally relevant and pervasive than Star Wars? She goes, no. I go, Star Wars came out in 1977. It's been 45 years, and Dave Filoni makes Star Wars. You and I are chasing the wrong legacy. You don't need to change the world. You need to change one person's world. And we've done that with Scum and Villainy.
You've taken a space and made it a world for Harry Potter fans, for Star Trek fans, for Star Wars fans, for Transformer fans. I mean, anything under that geek umbrella. You walk into that space and you're like, Chewie, I'm home.
Yeah, it comes from, and people will be like, it's a Star Wars bar. And it's like, that's why I told such a long story today. It's like, I was never, I'm like the Star Wars guy, but like when I was 6, I played with all my toys and they all played together nicely, in that way. Scum and Villainy is a place for people like me who played with all of their toys that never had a place.
Yeah.
So like why did we survive the pandemic? Why did we do that? Because people like me still need that place, right? We still need that. I just watched oh my god, it was that stupid Blockbuster show on Netflix.
Okay.
I was on the treadmill watching that stupid Blockbuster show on Netflix. But there was something at the beginning of that show that the main character said that really captured me, which was, it's about the last Blockbuster and trying to survive. And the whole first episode is about the idea that Blockbuster was a place that you went and you saw people and you face to face. And in today's world, human beings need that more than they did back then. And that's why Blockbuster is so important. And it's a silly show, but it is that is Scum and Villainy. That is why. Look, I'll shout out so it doesn't just sound like I'm here to promote myself. Stormcrow Manor in Toronto, my parents' basement in Georgia, 7 Stars Bar and Grill in San Jose. It's not just us. There's other people who have figured out how to do it. And then there's a lot of people who saw what we were doing and tried to copy it. But the difference is Weird Leather and Mead in Portland, Oregon. The people who built the space for them when they were little
Yeah.
are the people who are making it work, right?
Yes.
what is it that I needed, you know, that I didn't have? And like maybe somebody else needs that. And like Star Wars provided that for me when I was little, in hopefully the way that like Scum and Villainy can provide that for people in LA or people traveling from LA or people who
Yeah.
follow us on our social media who hope to come to LA one day. You know, like spoiler alert, I don't drink. Like I wouldn't say I'm sober, but like I'll have like 4 beers a year,
Oh, wow,
right? But
yeah.
I own a bar. People are like, "That's weird." I'm like, "Because it's not it's a community, right? I'm building a
Yeah.
community, and, like, to keep the community going, we sell alcohol." But, like, that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, like you said, you're building a community that you wanted to have when you stepped off that baseball field and all the other team members were like, "Well, you're a nerd now, you're off the field."
Mhm.
This is the backroom table with the Star Wars CCG on it and your friends hanging around and examining those cards to see what is the name of the pilot who Obi-Wan first talked to like really nail down all the as a nerd you get fascinated with particulars and those cards or the who was it? TSR, I think, the Star Wars role playing game, and those
Mhm.
books had
West End
some
Games.
part
So, it was West End Games
West End Games. That's it.
West End Games, and then it was Wizards of the
Wizard of the
Coast got it.
Coast. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they just recently bought it and re-put it out, which is also a beautiful reference book and a lot of fun.
Cinema Craptaculous is your podcast destination for all things movies, good and bad, streaming series, good and bad, and pop culture, good, bad, and the ugly. You get a totally different show every week, such as People Also Watched with Adam, Dave, and Tara. They're 3 industry insiders who always find the hilarity in the big budget feature and the lesser known feature you may have missed. There is, of course, the expanded universe. This is your place to geek out. John, Doc, and S'more are your geek experts to talk about what's going on in the world of streaming series, movies, superheroes, pretty much any showbiz geek topic, they're going to talk about it. And of course, there's the show that started it all, Cinema Craptaculous, with Stephanie, John, and Dave. You don't even need to have seen the movies these guys talk about to have a good time. So what are you waiting for? Go and subscribe to Cinema Craptaculous wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
You know, like, it's even further, like, I wrote in 2010 here's the story. This will be a good one to end on. I mean, I could keep talking for another 2 hours, but I was working at a job at a company called Young Hollywood, and I didn't really like it. It was fine, it paid the bills, but I didn't really like it. And it was very, I'm gonna say, like, Kardashian-focused media. It was
Okay.
all positive, like, it was great, but it was very Hollywood, very LA, very not me. And I've told this story a lot, but it's such a wonderful thing, is Thomas Jane, who played the Punisher,
Yep.
who's in The Mist,
Hung.
came in, hung. He's a very serious, no nonsense guy, as I learned. And he sat down with our host, and our host was very Kardashian. And that's how, look, he owned the company, he made the money, that's what sold. I'm not shitting on him, but it wasn't
Yeah.
me, and it wasn't Tom Jane. And you could tell Thomas Jane was there promoting his comic book series, and you could tell he was like just not into answering the Hollywood questions. But the last question that he asked to Thomas Jane was, "Do you have any advice for young Hollywood?" And Tom Jane sat up and looked down the barrel of the lens and said, "Keep the dream alive. Don't ever give up. There's a difference between a hobby and a passion. A passion is something that you have to do. And if you have a passion, you will succeed. And if you have a job that is getting in the way of your passion, quit that job because passion finds a way." End of the interview. He looked down the barrel of my camera lens and said that.
Yeah.
He was like speaking to my soul. I looked up at my buddy, Justin, who was the other camera guy, who was looking dead at me. Like something like crash cut. He's staring me. We're looking at each other. Justin quit the next morning.
Oh my
I
God.
put in 2 weeks, finished my time at Young Hollywood. Justin and I sat down and wrote a movie called Hughes the Force. John Hughes movie meets Star Wars. We wrote a role for Kevin Smith in the movie. Met James Arnold Taylor at a screening of the Clone Wars in Hollywood. James Arnold Taylor and Catherine Tabor agreed to play Obi-Wan and Padme in the movie.
Wow.
Everybody who signed on to the movie is like, how are you going to get Kevin Smith? Do you know Kevin Smith? I'm like, no, but I'll figure it out. The day that we were supposed to shoot the scene with Kevin came and went. I was like going to his podcast. I was tweeting him. I was trying all these different things. He tweeted one day, this is back in 2011. He tweeted, he goes, hey, I need a camera person to shoot my podcast tonight. Does anybody have a 5D Mark II? I had bought 2 5D Mark IIs to shoot my fan film that I wanted Kevin to be in. I tweeted him. I said, hey, I can be at your podcast tonight. I have 3 cameras I can use. I'll shoot the whole thing. So he's like, message Jordan Monsanto. Jordan Monsanto is Jason Mewes' wife. Message her. She's like, cool. We'll see you at the John Lovitz Podcast Theater at Universal City at this time. We set up, we shoot it, we go home. I message her. I was like, who's going to cut this? Who's going to edit it? She's like, Kevin's going to. I was like, does he use Final Cut, Premiere, or Avid? She's like, Avid. We went home. We taught ourselves Avid. We put everything in Avid, got it all set up for him. Went over to Jordan's house the next day to drop off the footage. She was like, why don't you guys just cut it? And do you want to come back next Friday and shoot it again? So we went and we shot it again next Friday. She goes, we have another show on Saturday. Do you want to shoot it on Saturday? We shot it again. You want to come back next week? 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 So how did I start doing Fatman Beyond? Followed my passion. Got Kevin Smith to do my movie. Like the only Star Wars fan film with a Kevin Smith cameo. He's playing Kevin Smith. He's the Yoda of the story. He shows up. It's weird science. He shows up when the boys are down and out and is like, hey, get back on your tauntaun, bust into that party, and show him who's boss, right? I've traveled around the world with Kevin Smith. He does his podcast from my spot. I was going to tie this into something. I've totally gone off the rails. Oh, anyway, Hughes the Force, Star Wars passion, met Kevin Smith, which opened the door to all sorts of opportunities in my film life as well. And like,
Yes.
he's a wonderful friend and like a good mentor, you know, because like, again, everybody's like, oh, Kevin Smith, the guy who did Clerks. But like, Kevin Smith runs a comic book shop. He runs a movie theater. He runs a merchandise business.
Podcasting business.
Whole podcasting business. Like he's a complete entrepreneur. And he's really good. And he's always positive. So it's really good person for me to talk to. Like, I don't talk to him about the stuff we do on the show is for the show and for the audience. Like when Kevin and I are like off air, we're not talking about She-Hulk. We're talking about like the comic book store or Scum and Villainy or what if we try this or what if I try that or what do you think of this or how have you learned it? Like we're talking about like our passion things, which are like these little small ball projects. And obviously, again, like I've joked about it, but like this is supposed to be an hour and we're at 2 hours and 21 minutes. Like for the last 11 years, that guy has shown me how to talk, how to sell myself, how to tell my story and get my name out there and like talk about what's important to me because there are other people, again, going back to the whole thing, there are other people out there who live in the middle of nowhere who don't have a Scum and Villainy Cantina or a Storm Crow Manor or who are still living in a place where it's not cool to wear a Star Wars t-shirt. And that we are, you know, we podcasted like clockwork once or twice a week during the entire pandemic. And like the number of people who will like come into Scum and Villainy and I'll be like doing trivia or whatever, or they recognize me and they'll be like, oh my God, like you and Kevin and Mark got me through the pandemic. And because we had nothing else to do, the show went for 3 hours. And so like I, again, got better at podcasting, got better at telling my story. And like, and all of that stuff pays off like, yes, financially, but also like I'm connecting with people. Like I get a chance to connect with people who can't make it to Scum and Villainy now, who just like want to hear what I thought about Andor because their friends are shitting on it because it doesn't have space wizards with laser swords, you know? And like, and for whatever reason, hearing me talk to Mark and Kevin about Andor being the greatest thing in the world, like this guy in the middle of nowhere in Alaska or whatever is like, see, there are people like me. There are people who love this. Like, even though like I have a great group of Star Wars friends, like I don't agree with them on this. And like, I'm not crazy. It's just, anyway.
It all goes back to that 3-year-old next to the kid who's about to choke on a blow whistle, seeing
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi for the first time, right?
Mhm.
It is crazy how that one moment took root to grow a tree with so many branches, like Hughes the Force, like the Cantina, like being on Rosie O'Donnell, like being on the cover of Chicago Tribune, is it?
Sometime, yeah.
Sun Time.
Chicago.
All of it. In it all becomes the person who you are now.
It is, and it's interesting because when I was younger, being on the cover of the Sun Times was awesome because I'm famous.
Yeah.
And
I,
being on
you're
Rosie
18 years
O'Donnell was
old
awesome.
and it's Chicago. That's still a big city. It's not like
You know, and it's a flex, right? Being on Rosie O'Donnell when you're 18 is a flex, and being on
yes.
TRL when you're 23 is a flex. But like, I was so young that like, I don't think I was like an asshole, but like, I definitely like luckily my mind was open enough to like
Yep.
learn things from those things. But like, if I look back, I was like, oh, I was not doing this now for the reasons I'm doing it, like then for the reasons I'm doing it now, right?
Yeah.
But like those experiences that I got through Star Wars were the teaching moments for me, right? Those were the moments where I'm like, Steve Sansweet, again, I sound like a douche, but like he's become a friend of mine. And when I've been at Rancho Obi-Wan, he always talks about the fan art. And when I first went to Rancho Obi-Wan in 2011, I was like, dude, you have all the vintage figures in original packaging. Why are you talking to me about this fan art thing that somebody sent you? But at 30, that was my thought. At 42, I only care about the fan art also, because that's like, oh my God, like Star Wars inspired somebody to do this the way it inspired me to do this. It's not just like a mass produced piece of plastic by a company that's only trying to make money. Like this is something that came from somebody's soul.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so valuable. And so it very much is like, you know, I mentioned I stopped drinking caffeine because I was like, when I was 18, because I was like, or 17, because I was like, oh my God, like in the books, like Jedi substances and stuff, and I'm drinking 20 Mountain Dews a day, and like
Wow.
I think I'm becoming reliant on it. And if I'm reliant on that, it's like I'm flirting with the dark side, you know? So like Star Wars, I swear to God, like it kept me away from like drinking. It kept me away from doing drugs. It kept me like trying to be a better person, you know?
Yeah.
And it really has, more than anything, like taught me the lessons and really just like shaped who I am. And I'm not talking about the 6 hours that are on, you know, this VHS, which I won at TRL. It's the opportunities and the lessons from the opportunities that it has provided, right? You know, I can't overstate like how that has been the through line in my, I mean, like one of my daughters, we have a life-size Jar Jar Binks in our dining room. And I swear to God, like one of my daughter's first 10 words was Jar Jar. And she'd point out. I mean, and if you want to talk about Jar Jar, like that's a whole nother like 2-hour podcast about Jar Jar, because like I think he's one of the best characters in Star Wars.
You know what? We are going to have that conversation because I just I'm not interested in arguing it. I want to hear that theory. I want to walk through it. Let's do that, please. Let's do that. Have that conversation.
Just schedule it. Schedule it. I've got like 45 minutes that will change your mind about Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I'll tell you what, anybody who I've told my Jar Jar, they're like, Jar Jar, haha, ironic. I'm like, not ironic.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. Anybody who is open-minded and listens to what I'm saying, I've gotten people to tears. After The Last Jedi, Matt Wood was at Scum and Villainy, and we started talking about Jar Jar Binks. And I told him my theory on Jar Jar. Now, this is a guy who worked with Ben Burt on the Jar Jar sounds and did all of that stuff, like intricately involved in Star Wars, like worked with George Lucas every single day.
Almost one of the creators, like under.
Yeah, and he was, the voice of all the battle droids, like General Grievous, like, and he was just like, my God. because I was going to do a documentary. It's like, if you ever do that documentary and you need help, let me know. Like, that's Matt Wood. Like, I brought tears to people's eyes. I've changed people's minds. But if you have an open mind and you're willing to go on that journey, I can show how Jar Jar is one of the best characters in Star Wars.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that because I love the conversations you can have on theory about Star Wars and what things mean. And I don't want to sound like Pat, but listening to you, you know, and the adventure you've been on from 3-year-old all the way to 42-year-old JC, what comes to my mind is your brain did not know what was impossible, so you did impossible things. Mm-hmm. And it also brings to mind Yoda saying, do or do not. Every moment in your life, you saw George Lucas walk by, do or do not. Do. You know, Kevin Smith reached out for camera help, do or do not. You chose do. And it's just over and over again, those two things, choosing do and not believing in the impossible is, like you said at the top of the show, limitless.
Turn off your targeting computer. Take your shot.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Everybody else who tried it in front of you blew up. They're all gone. It's just you. Turn off the thing. Trust yourself. Do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I thought you had your show at 9:30.
I know. We're still talking. It's okay. It's not live. You want to see? Here.
So this is the famous fiance.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Jocelyn. She's 2. Who is that?
Jar Jar.
What does Jar Jar do?
Jocelyn, who's this? Who's
this, honey bunny?
Oh yeah, who's that?
That's Pio.
And who's next to Pio? Who's that?
Yeah.
Chewie. And Justin, who's that over there? That little guy? Grogu. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I was going to ask if you were going to introduce any children to Star Wars, but apparently you will.
Her name is Jocelyn. J-O-S. Also, her name is spelled Joslyn because I wanted to be able to shorten it to Jin, Jyn. In my opinion, a hero, the best female Star Wars character out there.
What do you think makes her such a Star Wars hero?
I think, again, everything's a story in my life. I was we were at Star Wars Celebration Orlando in 2017, and we're walking back to our hotel, Star Wars Celebration Orlando 2017, and Jen is not fond of the sequel trilogy, and she's like, I just don't understand all these Rey cosplayers. Why are all these kids cosplaying as Rey? And I was like, devil's advocate, like this reason, that reason, all the reasons you hear. Yeah. And she goes, I just don't get it. I was like, what do you mean you don't get it? She's like, well, Rey like wakes up and like is a hero. I was like, yeah. She wakes up and she's a hero. And she's like, well, as a woman, I've had to fight for everything I've ever gotten in my whole life. And I was like, okay, well, who do you like? She's like, I love Jyn Erso. And I was like, why not Princess Leia? She goes, Princess Leia was born into royalty and trained from day one to do the right thing and to make hard decisions. She goes, but when I watched Rogue One, I watched a real woman have to make hard decisions, make mistakes, learn from her mistakes. You see Grogu? Learn from her mistakes and still make better and right decisions. And that's why Jyn Erso is the best. So why do I think that? Because Jen thinks that. Because Jen's explanation for that, and she's not like in Star Wars like I am, where I'm like, cried for 20 minutes on a podcast about how much it means to me. like she just connected with Jyn Erso in a very real way about the struggle of being a woman.
Yeah.
And she saw herself in Jyn Erso in not her skin color or not her birthright or anything like that, in somebody who was just like, I gotta figure this out and learn from my mistakes. And Jyn Erso is the only female character in Star Wars, at least at that time, who did that.
I think that's valid and valuable. So this is something I kind of ask everyone as my final question. But with you, it's going to be a little different. It's hard when you talk to people who are like really close to Star Wars to ask this question. So I'm going to ask it in this way. It's been roughly 20 years since you've hugged George Lucas. And that is a very powerful moment in anyone's life to meet their idol and get to hug them. But in those 20 years, you've done a lot of different things. You've grown up. You have a family now. But if you went back to Skywalker Ranch and there at the gates, George Lucas greets you again, what do you say to him?
Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't need to, if he had time and he wanted to talk to me, I could talk to him forever. And I would talk to him about how did you handle how did you handle it? How did you handle your life change? Like, I talked to him not about Star Wars. I talked to him about being a human.
Yeah.
And his experiences and what he's learned and how it's changed him and what he'd do different. I'm going to sound like a weirdo, but so I've been back to Skywalker Ranch several times. I've been lucky enough to have friends who worked on the Clone Wars who would invite me up there for lunch. So I've sat in the cafeteria of Skywalker Ranch, eating lunch, and George Lucas and Rick McCallum were sitting behind me, like back to back. I didn't bother him at lunch. Jocelyn's first vacation, she was a COVID baby. She was born in November of 2020. Her first vacation was, we are friends with George Lucas's son. And during COVID, he and his girlfriend and me and Jen and Jocelyn went up and spent a couple days at Skywalker Ranch over 4th of July. So I am beyond privileged in my pursuing of Star Wars has connected me and gone beyond my wildest imagination. I think I've gotten.
That's okay. That's in the public license. That's in the public domain. Yeah. She can sing that.
I've just I did the thing, and what he did for me through Star Wars and through the opportunity for meeting him and being cool with me hugging him is enough. It's more than enough. It's changed my life. And so, yeah, thank you. Hope you're well. Hope you're happy. Like, I don't even, it's just been such a ride. It's been such a ride on the foundation that he poured for all of us.
Yeah, it's true. It's a fantastic world he lets us play in. Well, JC, thank you so much for your openness, your honesty, your storytelling. I was so glad to be able to talk to you. I can't wait till we talk again. And I appreciate you coming on and telling the world what Star Wars means to you.
Oh my God, this was so fun. Thank you for documenting this. One day I'll play it for my daughter so she can see how crazy I once was.
So that's what Star Wars means to JC Reifenberg. You can follow JC on Twitter @Reifenberg, and you can find his movie at hughestheforce.com. And all these links are in the podcast notes as well. Did you meet your best friend in one of your favorite geek spaces? Does Star Wars inspire you to be a better person? In what way? Let us know and get in on the conversation on Twitter or Instagram @StarWarsMeanToYou. That's @StarWarsMean, the number 2 and the letter U. And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. If you're liking the show, please give us a 5-star rating and review. Or find someone who doesn't know about the show and make them subscribe. This way we can beat the algorithm together. And join me next week when writer Camila Canones joins me to share how she became a fan of Star Wars when she saw her first Star Wars movie, Attack of the Clones, and her spectacular experiences at Galaxy's Edge Disney World. It's a fantastic conversation, and she will charm you like she did me with her love for Padme. But that's all next time. Until then, happy Star Wars Day. And remember, the 4th will be with you. Always. Hi, this is Dave, and before we get to the show, I wanted to ask you a favor. One of our goals this year is to grow the show so that What Does Star Wars Mean to You reaches more listeners, and that's where we're asking you for help. And it's really easy. Wherever you listen to us, please hit that subscribe button. If you're liking the show, give us a 5-star rating and review on the platform you listen to us. We make a lot of fun of the algorithm and the smash that button thing, but it really does help us get noticed by new fans. And if you want to join in on the conversation, find us on social at Star Wars Mean to You. That's Star Wars Mean, the number 2 in the letter U. Now, let's chat some Star Wars.